Okay, we're rocking and rolling. Episode 7, maybe? I don't know. I'm not keeping track really properly at all. 6, 7, something like that.
Yeah. We should be watching our channel more often.
We should. We should. Well, welcome, Amit, to the 12-hour podcast.
No, welcome, Adam.
All right. Well, as usual, actually not as usual. We're doing this on a Saturday instead of a Friday
Yeah.
evening for me. This is a Saturday evening for me, Sunday morning for you. We're doing this a day later than we typically would. How's my audio, by the way? I'm wondering if I'm clipping because maybe I
Not at
gotta.
all.
No? Let me actually see here because I have a sneaking suspicion that my volume is way too loud. Because I was talking to my dad the other day and he was. Oh, no, no, we're good. It's actually, we're exactly where it should be. That's fantastic. I was talking to my dad, and he was
Right.
complaining that he could barely hear me, so I just cranked up my volume to my microphone all the way. So I forgot to put it down, but I guess it automatically adjusted, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think some softwares do that. They automatically adjust the volume.
yeah. I think maybe Skype automatically adjusted. I think Skype automatically adjusted it, which is pretty sweet. All right, well, we're live on Twitch again, which is kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. So, how's everything on Twitch?
I will keep you posted as we go along, but I suspect we will. I expect and I suspect we will have no viewers on Twitch.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot more than you were expecting, right?
Yeah. But I thought Twitch also has that hosting, video hosting, or is it just streaming?
Um, what do you mean, like where you can put up a video and keep it there and people can view it later, kind of thing?
Yeah.
I think you can do that, but I think it's from previous videos that you've streamed. So I think if you have a setting, I think if you have something set up where if you're like when you're streaming, it'll save the video and then people can go back and watch it.
Yeah, I assume that that was the case because YouTube has that feature, right? When you stream something, it automatically saves it as a video for later.
Yeah, if you have your settings set up that way, yes, that's exactly what would happen. Yeah, and I think I have the settings like that on Twitch. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we begin? Let's begin this way because this is the first time we are doing it on a Sunday. So, how was your Saturday?
Uneventful. Absolutely uneventful. Um, I got up very late, which was beautiful, and I exercised a little bit, and I did push-ups. I try to do 100 push-ups every other day, and then I do
Wow.
shoulder presses. I do about 40 of those, and then I'll do about 120 shoulder shrugs, and then I'll do 100 crunches, like where I'll go to my knees. I'll lift up my knees as I go up like this. Yeah. So that's what I do every other day. So that's what I did today, and made some food and hung out and played a bunch of DayZ.
What's Daisy?
DayZ is a video game. It's a fun video game. It's a video game that I play a lot. It's a survival game. Yeah.
Uh,
It's a very
so you have
intricate survival
to
game.
so you have to spend time in the wild and overcome the challenges.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. There are zombies. There are real players. And there's surviving the elements.
Okay, so it's like Day hyphen Z.
It's actually
Days.
without the hyphen.
Okay.
Daisy. Yeah, Z for
So
zombies.
Z zombies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. So it's very intricate. The premise is you get dropped on the map somewhere. You don't know where you are. You don't have a map to access or to use. All of the writing is in Russian. It's either Russian or Ukrainian or yeah. And you have to find like everything can kill you. Like if you're too cold, it'll kill you. If you're too hungry or thirsty, you're gonna die of starvation, or you'll just die because you don't have enough water to drink. If you can get sick from you can catch a cold. If you eat bad food, you can get sick too. But then there's different medications. But then you have to find the medications, and this is like supposed to be like post-apocalyptic. So resources are extremely limited. You can go through an entire town and try to find food or find whatever, and you could find really very little to nothing. And in the midst of all this, there's also sometimes there's wolves or there could be bears to fight off. Yeah. To give you a little bit of an idea of like the intricacy of the game, if you let's say you wanted to, let's say you found a can of food. Well, you can't open the can of food unless you have a sharp object. You have to have a knife on you, or like a can opener, or like anything sharp. You have to find something sharp. So you can have a bunch of food that are on cans, but if you don't have anything sharp, you're going to die of starvation. Okay, I'll take you a little bit more through like the depth of the game. That's just like one little tiny example. Let's say you see I don't know, you want to make your own food. Okay, so you find a chicken. You can hear a chicken. It's close by. You have to catch the chicken. Okay. And kill it. And then you're going to have to skin the chicken. But in order to skin it, you have to have something sharp to do that with. Okay. If you skin the chicken with your bare hands, then you're going to have blood all over your hands. And if you try to eat with your hands, you're going to get sick.
Right.
So then you have to wash your hands somewhere. So you have to find a water source. Or, unless you found gloves. If you found gloves, then you're okay. For whatever reason. Or if you find some rags, or you can make your own rags out of clothing. But again, to make rags out of clothing, you have to have something sharp. But if you happen to find rags, you could make your own gloves with the rags. Okay. All right, fine.
So that's possible. So stitching is possible in the game?
Yeah, you sort of just like make what are called hand wrappings. So I guess you take the rags and you're like putting it around, then you're like tucking the rags in. Yeah. So, okay, so fine. So you do all that, but then you have to cook the chicken. There's so many different ways you can cook the chicken. But let's say you want to cook the chicken with a fireplace. Well, you're going to have to find a house with a fireplace. Okay, but then in order to cook the chicken on the fireplace, you have to light a fire. So in order to light a fire, you have to go and get wood. And you need, so to light a fire, like anywhere, like any type of fire, you don't need just logs of wood. You need kindling as well. But then also you need you need kindling, like little pieces of wood or like sticks or,
No, I was saying tinder. It's called Tinder is something similar, right?
I don't know if
That's
maybe Tinder is something similar. Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be. Yeah. Not sure. Is Tinder and kindling the same thing? We're going to find out. Is Tinder and kindling the same? Okay. So not exactly the same. Tinder refers to highly flammable materials that ignite easily when exposed to a spark or flame. Tinder is used to catch the initial spark and start the fire, blah, blah. Kindling, on the other hand, refers to small sticks, twigs. Okay. So yeah, you can use Tinder or kindling to light the fire. You can do that.
Mm,
So you could use like, if you have some rags, you can take the rags, or you have like some paper. Like, let's say you found a box of ammunition. Then you can unwrap the box of ammunition. Now you have a piece of paper. You can put that as, you can use that to help light the fire. But then again, to light the fire, you need either like a match or a lighter, or you can make your own hand tool. To make a hand tool, again, you need like a knife. You got to cut some bark. You need a certain amount of bark, a certain amount of twigs, and then you put the two together, and now you make a hand tool, and then you can use that to light the fire. So you light the fire, then you can now you can start to cook the chicken.
mm. So you have to figure out basically everything from scratch.
Yeah, and there's no instructions. It's not like there's something that guides you to tell you that you got to do these steps in order to do this and that. Like, you just have to figure it out.
So it's basically something like that you have been dropped down into an alien planet and you have to figure out everything
Everything.
just to survive.
Everything just to survive. And you can go through all that trouble and then just die anyways. Because like something stupid could happen. You could just be like walking around, all of a sudden there's some wolves and they attack you, and well, you're dead.
Obviously, because in such a case, the probability of surviving is far less than that of being killed.
Yeah.
Like every minute, there is something around you that can get you killed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty
And
wild.
the civilization, the society, the world we live in has already made all the arrangements to reduce that probability.
Well, yeah, for sure. But it could get there pretty
When
quick
you
in real
think about it,
life.
yeah, so when you think about it, the game that you're playing, DayZ,
Yeah.
is what the humanity has been playing for centuries and even millennia,
I suppose so.
just to reduce the probability of death. And that is how the population is continuously increasing.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so. I guess the only difference is we didn't have to worry about zombies.
Mm, we have to worry about viruses and bacteria. Tho-
I
Those
suppose
can
so.
be similar.
Yeah, maybe in a way. Yeah, maybe in a way. But you
Yeah,
still have to worry
we
about
have to
that.
stay.
Yeah, you still have to worry about that kind of in the game too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do you kill zombies? Is there a way to kill the zombies in the game?
Yeah, so you can just like you can punch them. If you have
Beat them to death.
if you have if you find like a tire iron or like some sort of weapon, like a melee weapon, you can use that. You can maybe find a gun. But guns are a whole thing too, because you can find a gun, but then you got to find the bullets. And you can't just find any bullets. You got to find the right bullets that match the gun that you're using.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of different types of guns and a lot of different types of bullets. And then there's attachments for all those different guns.
It would be easier to find the gun shop.
A gun shop, yeah. There are no gun shops, unfortunately.
There might be if, after all, they are in Russia, right? So
You would think
I
that there would be.
hmm,
You would think. They should have thought of that. They should have made some gun shops. But they do have military bases.
so that can help.
That can help. So you can go to the military base and try to find weapons. Now, the cool thing about the game too is again, there's no radar there. Like, a lot of games, if they're these types of games, just give you like a radar, tell you where things are on the map, so you can kind of go towards it. If you hear gunshots, gives you an idea, like an indicator where it is. You got none of that. You just got to use your audio. And again, there's no map anywhere, and the map is huge. Like, to get from one side of the map to the other, if you're just to walk from one side to the other, um, it would take you takes about an hour if you're going straight, like just straight east to west or north to south.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a pretty huge map, and most of the map is just like nothingness. It's just like trees and open fields. There's just like little pockets of towns or like one or two houses here and there. So it's very hard to orient yourself. It takes a long time to get to know. Now, you could do one thing where you can download a map. It's an app. You can get an app on your phone that gives you the map. But again, there's no indication of where you are. It's not like you can connect the game to the app.
So is it like a cheat code?
No, everybody uses this app. Everybody knows about it. So you can't connect just because you have the app that gives you like the map. That doesn't mean you have any idea of where you are on the map. The only way to figure that out is you'd have to find a town, try to find a street sign for the town.
Mm.
And it's all in
Name
Russian.
of this.
Yeah, it's in Russian though. So then you have to like match the characters and there's so many different towns. There's tons. So you have to sit there and
But
match it.
how about this? You can take the phone, click the photo of the street sign. Google Translate will help you find the street sign, and then you can put it in the map.
Well, I don't know if that would work. I never thought about that. I mean, kind of the nice thing too. There's like one nice thing about the app where like it's all in alphabetical order, and there's like an English translation to the like not English translation, but they use like English letters so you can pronounce. It'll help you pronounce the town. They give you an idea of how it's supposed to be pronounced. And then since it's all in alphabetical order, it helps you figure out like where you are quicker than just like randomly looking throughout the entire map until you find yourself. Now, the thing as well is just because you found yourself, then you have to orient yourself like north, south, east, west to figure out how to get from one side to the other. There's two ways you can do that. One is to use a compass. If you find one, you can use a compass. I don't use a compass though. I just orient myself with the sun. So the sun actually travels, and because you're in the northern hemisphere, the sun's more south than it is north, and it rises from the east and sets in the west.
Okay, so you figure that by yourself.
Yeah. So I use the sun to determine where about I am on the map. I don't actually even use the map anymore. Like, I know the map well enough. Like, I can just look at the sun, I see something familiar, a landmark or something, and then I can kind of figure out a general direction of where I should go. Yeah.
Mm. And
But yeah.
how long is it that you have been trapped in this city?
I mean, they're small. They're like little small towns. I mean, there's some bigger cities, but they're still like, they're not enormous. They're not vast. I mean, most of the game, most of the map is just open field and forested areas. Like, I would say 90% of the map
And how long has it been?
that I've been playing this game.
Also, in the game span, or what you can say, equivalent time limit. I don't know how to explain that.
Like, how long has my character been alive?
Yeah, you can say that. So how long have you been playing, and how long the character has survived?
So one of my characters has been like in real world time has been alive for a couple weeks,
Hmm.
which is pretty good. Um, I have alternative accounts, so I have multiple characters. So I can sign out with one character and sign in with the other character. So sometimes what I'll do is if I find someone's base, you can make your own base. You can build your own base. So if I find someone's base, sometimes what I'll do is I'll take all my characters and I'll surround the base. And I mean, you can only log in one at a time, but then I'll log in with one and then see if I can find anybody. If someone kills me, I'll log in with another one. So I'll be able to approach the base and I'll see the base from a different angle immediately. Yeah.
But if someone or something gets you killed,
Hmm.
is it game over,
You just
or
got to
you
start
can?
all over again.
Okay, so there is no save point.
No, the way to save is just to log out.
So, like I remember while playing Hitman, there was always a save point.
Hmm.
You can go back to the point just before being dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand. No, there's no save points or like you don't like hit like there's no like press start and save the game or anything like that because it's all online against real players.
Hmm.
So the only way to save the game is just to log out of the game.
And is there a possibility of dressing up as a zombie?
Uh not really. And it's hard to like pretend you're a zombie or something like that because like they move in a very particular way that your character's not able to move. But if you were able to do that, that would be pretty cool. But there's a lot of tricks that people play. Like sometimes they'll kill a bunch of zombies and then they'll lie down in amongst the dead zombie bodies and wait to see if somebody approaches. And then if they do, then they shoot them from like just lying down. And it's hard to identify like yeah, which of the bodies is an actual person and also if you just saw a bunch of zombies on the ground, you wouldn't think that there would be a person there.
Now, here's an hypothetical.
Hmm.
If it were to happen in real life,
Yeah.
the zombies would take over, and there are only some humans left, very limited resources, and you find other human beings. What are you bound to do? Are you more likely to team up with them, or you are more likely to kill them because there are limited resources?
Hmm. I mean the people in the game are typically not very friendly, let's just say. But if it was in
So
real
you would,
life, I don't know. I don't know if you could really trust anybody.
yeah, exactly. That's the question.
It'd be really hard to trust
You
people.
you would try to team up, but they might be trying to get you killed.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. It's possible.
Because in the end, there will always be this scarcity will always be on the back of your mind.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. I agree. Yeah,
That's a tough situation.
it's a really tough situation. It's hard to know what to do. Hopefully, we never have to worry about something like that. I was just watching. You ever heard of Lex Friedman?
Yeah, you had mentioned he's your favorite podcaster.
He's a pretty good podcaster. He's pretty good. Um, so he had a podcast with. I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to remember her name. I'm gonna look it up now. Let's look this up. Uh, 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 Annie Jacobson. She wrote a book recently about like what it would be like minute by minute if there was nuclear war.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. We may not have a zombie attack per se, but nuclear outbreak, that is quite possible,
Yeah,
and that would create a similar scenario.
yeah, yeah,
And we may not be hunted by zombies, but we may definitely be hunted by nuclear radiations and even military, because they don't want you to be roaming around. They would
yeah,
want to keep you confined.
probably. And also, they don't know if you're a threat.
Yeah,
So ultimately, they're there to just defend themselves. And
they
that's if
could
you'd even
even.
survive. I mean, the chances of survival are pretty much slim to none.
Yeah, of course, we are assuming that we have survived.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we won't be able to witness any of it.
Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
practically, yeah, if we are very close to nuclear explosion, there is no chance of survival even for a second.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah, of
literally
course.
takes it literally takes a second to wipe out a city.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, if the bomb hits like any part of the city that the bomb hits, it's vaporized instantaneously, not even in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's scary stuff.
Yeah, so that would be quick and painless, and but for those who will survive, that would be a tragedy.
Yeah, especially the ones that would only be able to survive, let's say, for like an hour.
Oh, yeah, can't even imagine.
That'd be brutal. That'd be pretty brutal. Yeah, you don't want
Yeah,
to be one of them. You kind of hope. I don't know. Like, if you had your choice between being directly in the center of that blast, being vaporized immediately, or being way outside of it, and you just have to endure the result and survive through the aftermath. You know, without like you just have to survive the aftermath. You're not injured in any way whatsoever. You don't experience any radiation, which is highly unlikely, but let's just say hypothetically, you don't experience any radiation whatsoever. You just have to survive the elements.
I think if survival is the option, then everyone would want to choose that and go through the pains and obstacles. I don't think anyone would want to opt for the quick and painless option if the survival is a valid option.
But how bad will the world be? I mean, the world will be in a real bad state. It'll be really hard to survive. Really hard. I mean, you could end up living a very slow and agonizing, grueling demise.
What I believe, or what I can connect the scenario is with Life is Beautiful, that movie.
Hmm. I know that
It's,
movie.
yeah, the Holocaust movie where the father and son are in the concentration camp. So, what I can imagine is that life would be very similar to that. You are going to be confined to very limited resources, very limited movements, and yet you will have to be able to find something beautiful about it because you are human, and that's the only thing that is going to keep you afloat no matter what the how bad things get. So staying positive, being happy, finding joy out of nothing, I feel that's the major part of survival. Otherwise we can pretty soon succumb to pessimism, and then you know how bad it can get.
What if you were the only person that you know that survived and you have to figure it all out by yourself? How long do you think you'd survive for? How long do you think you'd live?
Mm,
Realistically.
I would give myself a good chance, I think, because I do believe I have that skill set that I can survive and for as long as possible. That is, die of natural death.
Hmm. Do you know how to
I'm
hunt?
backing myself. Even if I don't know, I feel I can survive on leaves.
But
I
you wouldn't
know.
necessarily know what to eat because you could eat like something highly poisonous and not realize it because you can't just eat anything from any plant, right? There are some plants and some elements of plants that are extremely toxic. Like even foods that you regularly eat, if you eat certain parts of the plant, they can be quite toxic. You can only eat certain parts of a plant.
mm, No, I would, in that case, I would just observe the plants that are already eaten. In that case, I would assume that animals are eating those plants, so it's safe.
Hmm. You really want to make that assumption?
Yeah, that sounds safe because animals have that instinct of identifying what plants are good for them.
Well, they would know from because you know, many generations of being wild. That's all they are. They're just wild animals, right? So they've had to learn forever what to eat and what not to
Mm,
eat. But also their microbiome and their gut and their digestive system is very different. So they can digest things that we can't. And there's certain things that are totally okay for them to eat that if we try to eat, it would ruin us. Like cows can eat hay and grass. We can't eat hay and grass.
Yeah, I
So
don't
just
know
because an
why I'm
animal
not.
is eating something doesn't automatically mean that it's safe for us to eat too.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not able to imagine myself eating something that is toxic and end up making a bad choice like that happened to Christopher McAllister, the guy from Into the Wild.
I was thinking about exactly the same movie. That's so wild. I was thinking about exactly the same movie where at the end, right? At the end, he eats something really horrible. He didn't realize it. At first, he thought it was one thing, and then he got a really bad stomach ache. He was in a lot of pain, and then he looked up, and then he realized what he actually ate. And it was
Yeah,
highly toxic, highly poisonous, and he basically didn't matter what he did after that. He was just going to starve to death. He was going to die of dehydration and starvation.
yeah. And I just couldn't understand why he couldn't eat the meat that he killed. I remember something like that.
Yeah,
He killed an
He killed like a
Killed an
caribou or a
ox?
moose or something like that. Yeah, one of those types of
Hmm.
animals. Yeah, because I remember that. So he killed it, but it's a lot of meat, and you've got to clean it immediately. Because if you don't, like the flies get to it right away, and then the flies lay their eggs inside.
But how is that so bad so fast?
What do you mean? Like, how does it get bad so fast?
Yeah, because he has river water, he can wash the meat in that. Is
Yeah,
that possible?
I think it's high. Like, we can look this up. This is a good question, but I'm pretty confident in saying that as soon as the flies get to it and they've laid their eggs in it, and like the meat's toast. Like, you got to remember that what do flies typically get attracted to, and where they're always like on a lot of very like they're on a lot of they're in contact with a lot of things that are extremely toxic to us. They'll be
Hmm.
on like dung heaps, and they'll be on like rotting food and carcasses, and they can eat that stuff. So
So
if
they
you
are
have too
collecting all
many,
those different microbes and
yeah, and then
depositing it.
and it's like one fly, whatever, right? That happens, right? You're eating something and one fly goes on your food. Technically, you probably shouldn't eat the spot where the fly landed. You should probably like tear that part off, throw
Remove
it
that.
away. Yeah, probably. There's probably a ton of bacteria on that, but okay, it's one fly. We've all done it. Not the end of the world. But when it's that many flies, yeah, it doesn't matter what you do. It's toast. Like,
Again, wouldn't it make sense that if we just remove the top layer of that meat, we can still eat the lower half of the meat?
I think the way that it works is once they lay their eggs, like I don't think they lay their eggs on top. We're going to look this up, but I'm imagining that they don't lay their eggs on top. They lay their eggs like inside of the meat, and then will look how quickly the eggs hatch. But I imagine it's probably pretty fast.
Yeah, I would understand if they are maggots. Maggots, they don't grow that easily, and once they've grown, then something horrible has happened that you have to understand.
Yeah.
But flies, I
Well,
don't know.
when flies lay their eggs hatch, and those are maggots,
Hmm. Yeah, but
right?
that takes like what, days or weeks to happen?
I think once they've laid their eggs, like that's it. We're gonna look this up. Let's look this up. I'm gonna look this up right now. But I'm pretty confident in saying that once they lay their eggs, like, and you get a whole bunch of flies around the meat, like they're all over the meat. I don't think you can just wash it away, clean it off. But let's look this up. So let's see what happens if you are hunting and you are not able to uh, get or clean the animal before flies begin to, I don't know how to phrase this, before flies begin to what? Um,
Attack it,
Before flies
infest it.
are attracted. Yeah, infested's pretty good too. To the kill. I'll just put. It'll understand. ChatGPT is pretty good. It can intuit what I'm trying to get at. So if you're hunting and unable to clean the animal before flies are attracted to the kill, it's important to take swift action to preserve the meat and prevent spoilage. Here are some. Okay, so you can do something. Move quickly. As soon as the animal is downed, work swiftly to begin the cleaning process. Delaying the cleaning process increases the risk of spoilage and bacterial contamination. Okay, minimize exposure. Keep the animal as clean as possible. Okay, blah, blah. Field dressing. Field dress the animal as soon as possible to remove the internal organs and prevent the buildup of heat and bacteria. Okay, you got to cool it down. Okay, butchering process. but that didn't really go into what would you do if flies have already gotten to the animal before you could begin cleaning it. All right. If flies have already gotten to the animal before you could begin cleaning it, it's important to take immediate action to salvage as much of the meat as possible while minimizing the risk of spoilage and contamination. Here are some steps. Assess the damage, evaluate the extent of the contamination caused by the flies, check whether the flies have laid eggs or maggots on the carcass, and examine the areas where the meat appears to be affected. Okay, remove contaminated areas. It's got to be hard though, because once the flies are already at it, like you try to remove the contaminated areas, but like if there are certain areas that are not, like you try to remove those, the flies are just going to go to that area anyways.
Oh,
I would think,
so
right?
the contamination is not visible.
Yeah, maybe also the contamination is not visible, but let's just say it is, right? Let's say the contamination is visible and you're able to cut away parts that are not contaminated. As soon as you start to do that and you would remove that, like there's going to be a ton of flies. They're just going to come after you. It's not like they're going to like leave you alone.
And also, what is stopping him from boiling the meat? Doesn't that kill off the eggs?
I don't I think there's a problem with that too. Like I know with certain bacteria, I've heard this before. Like if you leave your and I used to be in the restaurant industry, right? So I know that if you leave your food out for too long, bacteria begins to grow. And then even if you go to heat the food back up, what you could actually be doing, like there's certain bacteria that even if you heat the food back up, there are certain bacteria where the contaminants of the bacteria become even more potent when you heat up the food. So it actually makes it worse. Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily kill off if it is boiled.
Not necessarily. Yeah. We can look that up too, but I'm pretty sure that's true. But let's read more of this. So, okay, so you can try to check whether the flies have laid eggs or maggots on the carcass and examine the areas where the meat appears to be affected. You can remove the contaminated areas. If only certain areas of the carcass are affected by flies or maggots, consider removing these sections to salvage the remaining meat. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, then it goes into some of the same processes as it did before, as if there was no contamination in the first place, which is like, the field dressing process, cleaning and rinsing, cooling and storage, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but I would say, like, that's going to be hard. That's going to be really hard. Like, once there's enough flies there, yeah, like, you got to do it right away. Like, I know I've listened to a bunch of hunters talk about hunting before, and they all say the same thing. Like, you've got to, as soon as it's killed, you've got to immediately act. Bag everything, clean everything up, bag everything. You got to cool it down really fast, or else bacteria just grows all over the meat, and then you can't use it anyways. You got to wrap it a certain way and minimize the exposure to too much of the air. Right. It's like when you cut yourself, right? You don't want to just leave an open wound. If it's a little tiny cut, okay, whatever, your body can handle it. But if it's too much of a cut, you got to wrap it up, because too much exposure to the air, bacteria, and that's like, and you're alive. Imagine now you take meat that's not an animal that's not even alive, that can't really use its natural defenses, its immune system, to be able to handle the amount of bacterial growth. Right? So yeah, you gotta clean it super fast and like wrap it up and cool it. And
but don't we eat meat that is not freshly cut? We often eat meat that is old.
Yeah, but they typically, like, and I'm gathering it from this too, is like, so you kill an animal, and you also know, like, a lot of animals when they're killed, like if it's in a facility, it's freezing cold. Like it's very cold in the facility as they're cutting, right? But anyways, let's say you don't have the ability to do that. So you cut.
Yeah, let's say it's a local butcher.
Yeah, so you get a like you cut your meat, and then you have to, like, you kill the animal, you cut the part of the animal that you want. I mean, you probably have to like cut up pretty much the whole entire animal right away. And then you got to wrap it, and then you got to cool it down, keep it below 4 degrees Celsius, so the bacteria can't grow, or it grows very much more slowly. And then if you're going to hand it to like you're going to go to a butcher shop and you're going to buy some meat, well, you buy it from, it's in a fridge, so they'll cut off a piece and then they'll wrap it up, they'll give it to you, but they also imagine that you're not going to be out and about for hours. You're going to take the meat, and within, let's say, even if it takes you an hour to get it into a fridge or freezer, you should be okay. It takes about 2 hours until it starts to get dangerous. And also the meat doesn't heat up right away. Like if it's cool enough, right, it's going to maintain that cooler temperature. And the bacteria is only going to grow more quickly after it gets past 4 degrees Celsius. This is as far as I know. So as far as I know from my like food handling knowledge that I have from like the restaurant industry. So you have time. It's not like you have to, it's not like, but if it's a freshly killed animal, yeah, you got to, I would imagine you got to clean it, wrap it, cool it like fast. Like that's why I've heard too, like if you're going to go like kill a big animal, you typically don't go by yourself. You go with like a team of people because you need the help. You need the help to like everybody does their part to clean the animal and get it all cut up in a certain way and go through the whole process. You got to work together as a team. Yeah. Be way too hard to do it by yourself. Way too hard. Like a deer? Jeez, that's a lot of meat. And it's also got to be hard work because you got to take everything off take everything off the bones, and it's got to be tough.
Yeah, so hunting, that would have to be learned over time.
Maybe,
Hunting and curing the meat.
but like that's tough, man. Like if you have no ability to cool it down, the best thing you could probably hunt would be small animals. You wouldn't want to be going after big animals by yourself too. You want to go over like small animals, like squirrels or rabbits, maybe duck, fish.
Yeah, fish would be easier.
Maybe, I don't know how easy it is to catch fish. If you don't have a net, with just like a spear, like they used to do the old days, just
Yeah, that was the original fishing way. But I think nowadays they use mines.
you don't want to use it. You're gonna use a mine. Not gonna use a mine. You're gonna blow the fish to smithereens. You're not gonna be able to eat
Yeah,
it.
but
It's just gonna be like a whole mess.
I've seen it's a fishing technique, right? You blow up the pond and the fishes die, they float, and you just
Oh, maybe if
skin them
it's,
off.
yeah, maybe if it's like a small pond or something. Um, sure, but whatever fish are really close to that explosion are going to be disintegrated. And then you'd also have to eat all those fish right away. Like that wouldn't make any sense. You have to eat all the fish right away. Because again, you don't have any ability to like keep them cool and store them.
Hmm.
Right? So you kill one fish and you eat the one fish, and then like that's it.
because there's no electricity.
There's no electricity. It's not like you can just like catch 100 fish and have plenty of fish for many, many
Yeah,
days.
so
Like, yeah.
so that's the thing I was talking about, because if it were to happen really, I think I could generate electricity as well.
Okay. How would you do
I could
that?
find a fridge. I would use a cycle and a generator and
Mhm.
batteries. I could find all that, but yeah, it could take months to develop a small power station of my own. Probably it will take months.
And you
And
have
even
to,
if I quick up the process,
yeah,
it might take weeks.
yeah.
So for those 2 weeks, I need enough energy, enough food. I don't know.
And then really, would you, by that time, you'd be so good at getting your own food. Would you really want to go through all that trouble anyways?
Why not? That's how a human mind wants to work, right? It wants to reduce the effort continuously.
I
Even
suppose
if
so.
you already have a satisfactory technique, you still want something better that takes lesser effort, that is more efficient.
I suppose so, but you have to factor in one other element,
Mhm.
okay? Which is you will be one of a few people that will be that resourceful,
Mm.
okay? And if you're that resourceful and you've figured that out, what's to say that you won't have to figure out a way to ward off other people trying to take what you have?
Yeah, that brings us back to the earlier question. Would you team up with the others, or would you kill them off?
Man, I can't
That
imagine
reminds
I
me,
can't imagine myself like yeah, doing anything besides I wouldn't do either one. I would I think I'm more the type of person that I would just avoid any conflict and getting into any
any
circumstance where I have to
interference.
make a decision like where I have to make a decision I couldn't live with, you know? If I was by myself. Now, if I was responsible for other people, that's harder. If I was responsible for the welfare of other people, that would be a lot more challenging because then
There
I'd
was
have to
this,
potentially defend them.
yeah, there was this sitcom, The Last Man on Earth.
Hmm.
The concept is basically the name. He was the last guy, and he would have the liberty to walk into any mall, food court, anything, because there is a lot of preserved food over there.
Hmm.
He would easily survive because there is a lot of food that
Right.
is not going to go bad anytime soon.
Right.
So we can assume those packaged food can last for maybe 3 years
Right.
at the most. So for 3 years, he may not have to worry about food, but after that, he has that window to learn, to hunt, and make electricity, survive, all of that stuff. So figure out science and technology by himself. I don't remember what happened on the show later because I stopped watching it, or maybe the show was discontinued.
Right.
But over time, he began to find people, other people, and that
Okay.
beats the purpose of the show, right?
Yeah.
The
Now
last
he's
man on the earth
yeah, now he's no
is not
longer the
literally the
actual
last man.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's true.
Yeah. So I understand they had to introduce other characters to make the show funny, but I think it became less interesting as other people came on.
Hmm. They tried to make it more interesting, but by trying to make it more interesting, they made it less interesting.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about adding the characters was the competition that began.
What competition?
So, first they introduced a woman, and obviously there was just last man and last woman, so they got married and like they had to get married,
Sure.
right? Adam and Eve.
Right.
So, just when they got married, another beautiful lady enters the show, and now he is confused
Right.
that he married too soon. Uh, of course, there is this conflict always going inside him, and soon they introduce another alpha male character that increases this competition feel
Right.
now because he's not the last man. He has the competition, he has to get better, and then comes along another funny guy who is more charming than the alpha male, and then
Mhm.
the competition is increasing. So I don't know, that kind of spoiled the show for me.
Hmm. Wasn't as interesting anymore.
Yeah, because then it wasn't about survival, it was more about getting the chick.
Right.
Mm.
Well, I mean, that was like survival of the human race, I guess.
I think it's not just the survival then, because if only the survival is the question, then any woman is like good enough, right? Won't you say so? Because if reproduction is just the goal,
Yeah.
then that any women can achieve that. But the males are always going after a particular kind of female that points something deeper in the evolution. That doesn't only mean just reproduction is enough. It requires something more than that.
Does it? I mean, we choose mates based upon a higher likelihood of reproduction. And how we determine with our senses uh, if there's a higher likelihood of reproduction is if there are particular traits that we notice, physical traits, psychological, emotional traits of a partner. So that helps to, it helps us to, I mean, it's at least a method we use to try to guess, take our best guess as to who's the best to reproduce with, right?
Theoretically, yes, but practically, if that's the case, men would be going after homely women who are not particularly in shape because they would want a womb that is wider so that the baby is much healthier. They wouldn't go after someone who is zero figured, model, attractive, the kind of models that are popular these days. Don't you think so?
I mean, I think that right now their guys have their types, but I think that a lot of men do prefer women with wider hips.
Is it?
Yeah, I think a lot of men do. I mean, I think it depends also culturally, but there's a
Yeah,
lot of men. Yeah.
culturally, I can agree that because here in South India, if you see the South Indian movies, you will see that uh, wide frame women are more acceptable over there.
Hmm.
But if you come into mainstream movies here, you won't find any lead actress in that shape.
Right. Right. Yeah, it depends, I think, on the culture. But there are a lot of cultures
Mhm.
that do, like, especially in America, where wider hips are preferred. Um, yeah, not too, not like fat in all the right places, let's say.
Mm.
not overweight.
I agree. Yeah, I agree that sometimes I think you are mentioning thick thighs, something like that.
Mhm.
Sometimes those things can look attractive, but that still keeps the question alive. If that is the case,
Yeah.
if evolution wants us to feel attracted towards a mother, a potential mother, then we shouldn't be attracted to a very slim figure.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. If there is variety, see, I think this is where men and women are different. I think men are more predisposed to choose based upon variety because the more variety there is, the more opportunity, the higher the likelihood is to pass on our genes to like further generations,
Mm.
right? So if
So,
there's a large variety to choose from, then the chances of men choosing that large variety, if they're able to do so, and if there's not going to be any hindrances to doing so, we will end up not all men, but I think generally men will choose to have the variety.
but they are probably going to end up with just one, and sometimes maybe two.
I don't know, not necessarily.
Some.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think the more status a man has, the more likelihood that he will be willing to be with more women. I mean, you've seen this, like, you see this throughout the animal kingdom quite a bit with mammals. You see this, especially, okay, let's take the animal kingdom out of the scenario, like us. Throughout our species, throughout the millennia, the higher status men typically, not all
Yep.
of them, but typically, had many women as
Yeah, like
wives.
kings.
Yeah, many women as
Mm.
wives, children from many different women. And you see that
Yeah.
nowadays
So
too. A lot of men are like that now that are very high status.
yeah, that brings up another question. Like, if evolution, biology wants us to have this options, this variety,
Mm-hmm.
are we really slowing the evolution down by bringing a concept such as marriage?
Yeah, marriage is an interesting topic.
Yeah. So
Marriage is, yeah.
scientifically, monogamy is slowing evolution down.
I mean, yes and no. There's pros to it. I think monogamy is a better, like as the population grows, I
Mhm.
think monogamy makes more and more sense. And I'll tell you why. Marriage is a whole other thing. Like marriage and monogamy don't have to exist together, right?
Right.
And you can have marriages that are polygamous. You could have
Mm.
marriages that are monogamous, right? You can have monogamous without a marriage, right? You can have polygamy without a marriage, right? So they're two different ideas.
Yeah,
But
so we can stick to monogamy.
yeah, monogamy is a good strategy for the larger the population is. And the reason why is because, from granted, not a lot of research, but from some of the research I've done, um, children that grow up with a mother and a father figure that contribute well to the growth of their child and that are present for the growth of their child, that child tends to grow up a lot more healthy, psychologically, emotionally, physically.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that strategy becomes a lot more important as the population gets larger.
So for the progeny,
Mm.
monogamy is a better choice.
I think it's a better strategy. Yeah. I think monogamy is a much, much better strategy for men and women. For men and women. Now, again, like that's generally. If you're a very high status man, you end up having a lot more options because, again, very generally from this might be a controversial topic, but from some of the research I've done, this is not my opinions. This is just based upon some research that I've done. I've seen some strong evidence to suggest that women tend to prefer a high status man over a low status man, which gives a high status man more options. And then as a man has more options, then he tends to make use of more options.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, so some people might
Yeah, I
disagree
think
with that,
that's
but I think that, again, from some of the research I've done, that seems to be the case.
no, I don't think that's debatable. That's the general observation, I feel. The popular fields, sports, media, I think all of that has this trait
Yeah.
of that makes the person of a higher status and gives them more options. That's, I think, a general observation.
Yeah.
So yeah, so so until the first child is born, I think monogamy can be postponed maximum until that, until the first child is born, because after that monogamy is not an option.
You're saying, just want to make sure I understand. So you're saying that there's no need to be a monogamous until you have your child, until you have your first child.
Yeah, like you can have a lot of options, variety, or let's bring it down to general straightforward conversation.
Hmm.
You can fool around a lot
Hmm.
until you end up making someone pregnant.
I don't think that's a good strategy either. I don't think that's a good
I'm not
strategy.
s- I'm not calling it as a strategy, but I'm just saying,
I don't think it's wise. Okay, I'll put you that way. I don't think that that's wise to do.
okay. Mhm.
Yeah. I don't think it's wise to be with many people and then
End up
just
being with
choose.
one.
Yeah, and then just choose. Oh, I'm just gonna have a baby with this one. Like I don't think that that's wise. Like if you're already on the path to being with a lot of different people, like how do you get off of that path? If you have a lot of options, it's not like one day you're just gonna like be like, well, I guess even though I've got a lot of options, I've been doing this for a while, that I'm just gonna stop doing. Like maybe you might, but I think that might
Yeah, I
take
think
way
it's
too long. It might, like, you might be far too old.
I think that's like a any lifestyle change, I would say. It's similar to quitting alcohol, quitting smoking, I would say. For years you have to try it and experience it, and there comes a time when you have to decide it's no longer for me.
I mean, sure, but then you're talking about like addictions, right? Or like something like a habit that's not healthy, right? So you're equating it to choosing something that's not healthy. So, and I
Hmm.
agree, it's not a healthy thing to do. I don't think it's healthy
Hmm.
to be with this person, then that person, then that person, then like to, yeah, I don't think that's a good,
Juggle.
yeah, I don't think it's wise. I don't
Hmm.
think it's wise to do because also, like, what ends up happening to those people as you're doing that, right? Like, what are you leaving them with that they're going into the next relationship with? What effect does that
Hmm.
have on a
Yeah,
population as a whole?
collectively.
Yeah,
Yeah, collectively it's creating a bad impact.
I think so.
Hmm.
I don't think it's wise. collectively. And I also don't think it's wise as an individual to adopt that frame of mind. I think it's a lot more wise to just talk. Like, I also don't think you should be talking to a lot of people all at the same time. Because, like, how could you possibly build any sort of relationship, like a deep, meaningful relationship, and try to do that with a lot of people at once, even just two people at the same time? Like, it'd be very conflicting, be very like confusing.
Agree.
Like,
Yeah.
who am I really like wanting to be with? And like I find myself attached to both of these people. Then how do I decide to like cut it off with one of the people? It's like, and then how does that affect me? And then how does that affect the relationship that I want to continue? And then also my time is split between these two people. And then if they're doing the
Mm.
same thing, yeah, it's too much stuff going on. I think if you want to, if you're in the frame of mind where you want to meet somebody, you want to, even if you don't have, you, let's say you don't even want to have children, but you are in the frame of mind where you want to have an intimate relationship with somebody, whatever that means to you. You like the idea of intimacy. I think it's really important to decide on one person to do that with, and then see where it goes with that one person. Give it an honest opportunity. Both people should do that. And if it's just not working for one person and they can't work it out together, okay, then they tried.
Yeah.
But I think
Sounds
that's more
fair enough.
wise. Yeah, I think that's wise.
Mm.
And to have like the real honest intention of doing that. I think that there's a lot of people that always have like a backup person. I think that's also like horribly unwise to do that, because then you always
Yeah.
have in the back of your mind
That's
that like if it's not working out quite the way that I want with this person, well, it's very easy to just break it off with that person and try it out with this one. It's you're not really giving it a fair and honest opportunity to be something with this person. You're not really doing it honestly and openly and transparent with transparency. Yeah. It's yeah. I think it's just unwise, very unwise, and there's a lot of people that do that.
true. Yeah. And it's been happening much more because of the internet, I believe. There's dating apps and everything that is making things very complicated.
Yeah. I stay far away from that stuff.
Yeah,
Far away.
because it doesn't really seem to end well.
No,
What
no, it doesn't.
mm,
You're right.
it's eventually going to backfire.
Yeah. No, it's a poor strategy. It's not there's not a lot of foresight to it.
Mm, yeah, it's it's a what you can say stopgap.
Yeah. 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 It's not yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. So, anyways, those are my thoughts on that. Like, yeah, if I meet somebody and I'm in the mindset where I really want to try to build an intimate relationship with somebody, whoever that person might be, and I don't have anybody who I'm thinking of doing that with, but I want to find somebody, then I'll look, and if I find somebody who I could potentially do that with, I'll see if it could go there. And if it's not going there, then I'll be like, okay, it's not going there. Then I won't. I'll just see what other option is out there. But I'll try with one person and see where that's moving along to, and focus only on that one person. I'll ignore every other potential option out there, even if another one presents itself. Ignore it because I'm already focusing on this person. And if it's not working, and we're really trying, and she's doing the same with me, and it's really not working, we're both giving an honest effort, okay, then we'll see. Then we'll start to look for something else if I want to.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, I think
No,
that's better.
that's actually yeah, that's very simple and straightforward approach.
Yeah,
Now, whatever you want to call it, a mindset or a strategy.
yeah,
The thing is, why cannot this be implemented at an early age, just when the kids are beginning to date? Let's say they are in their teenage and somebody comes and explains this mindset to them, why doesn't it work that way? Because of course it is a simple thing and people know about it. People who are wise, who have aged up, who have experienced things, they can explain this to their teenagers. Why isn't that happening more often?
Um, I think that should be the role of parents.
Yeah.
And I think that their parents are, there's a number of reasons. One is I think there's probably a lot of parents that don't even know how to have those types of conversations. Two, those parents are probably involved in a relationship, maybe a marriage that's not very healthy. So they're not living by an example. So
Gotcha.
then you can't really have an effective conversation with somebody, your child, if you can't even live by that example yourself. Um, so yeah, I think this, and I think a lot of parents are also very just uneducated. Like they just have no clue to have, like, how do you have that conversation? They don't even know where to start. Um,
Mm,
yeah, it's a real problem. It's a real problem because if you were to say, okay, well, maybe you make like a class on this, who's going to teach that class? And like, what is their, like, what's the nature of their relationship? Like,
mm,
how deeply do you know the, like, the intricacies of their intimate relationship and how healthy it is? Because if they can't even do it themselves, how are they going to teach it? But even if, like, and would they be the type of person that would be willing to have their intimate relationship looked at with a fine-tooth microscope, like fine-tooth comb? Like, probably
and would
not.
they wanna, yeah, and would they wanna bring it out in public?
Yeah, exactly. So it's very challenging. It's a very challenging
Yeah. No,
situation.
but I think there could be some workaround for it, because we are getting somewhere. Like you said, if the parents had a good marriage going on, they wouldn't be hesitant to talk about it with the kids,
Sure.
and they would be setting a good example.
Yep.
So if we could find people who are having really good and successful marriage, a good combination, a good match, they could be the teachers or mentors of
Sure.
relationship, or
Sh-
you can relation we can maybe call them relationship consultants.
Sure, but and there's people like that out there. But the problem is how do you know how credible they are? How are you going to figure that out? How are you going to figure out how healthy the relationship actually is? Are they going to be willing to have the public watch and observe intimate parts of their relationship deeply to make sure that they're real credible instructors? Like, how do you determine that they
So
actually know what they're talking about and not feeding a whole bunch of toxic, dangerous information to children? Right? Like, how do you figure that out? That's really hard. It's a really complicated circumstance, really, really challenging.
okay, now because that is a challenge,
Yeah.
I want to take an analog case.
Hmm.
Let's say you are learning football
Okay.
from a coach, and the coach himself is not a successful coach. He has only played college football, not any state or national level,
Sure.
but you would still blindly trust him. And
That's different, though.
yeah, that's what I want to understand. How
What's
does
the
it
different?
compare?
Yeah. Very different. Okay. So you're talking about a sport that's played for a short period of time, for increments, short increments of time. And if that coach that you're trusting doesn't know what they're talking about, then yes, you could get injured potentially, right? Which would be really bad. The thing is with that is the general public can figure out who the good coaches are relatively quickly based on the performance of a team. And you have a variety of people that watch the performance of the team and watch the instruction that is being provided to them from the coach. And there's a lot of eyes watching every facet of what the coach is doing, and a lot of eyes on the team and how they're performing. And if something's not working, you can clearly see it because they won't be winning games, or maybe a certain amount of the team will be getting injured. Right? Like it'll be really obvious that something is not quite right. And then you can just replace that coach with somebody who has a better record, who's like, the teams that they've been with have won a lot of games and there hasn't been that many injuries. Like it's easier. Like there's like data. You can look at the data and you can really observe it and see. And like you can figure it out like in a relatively short period of time. Like within, let's say, a season, or even like not even a full season. Right? You can see it within like a shorter period of time with building a relationship with people. Like that takes years. It takes years for those relationships to be healthy. And then also you'd have to have like not only eyes on the people that are instructing, but a lot of eyes on the people that are learning or taking the advice, to determine whether or not it's actually working. And like who's going to be willing to do that? Right? So that's where it's very different. It's very different.
Yeah, I understand it is different, but our mindset when it comes to sports, lets us choose a coach which is not accomplished.
A lot of times.
But our mindset when it comes to relationship would not let us take advice from someone who is having themselves a bad relationship.
Because there's more of a, like, again, like if it's a sport, let's say it's with little kids, right? Let's say it's little kids, you got a coach, he's a parent. He likes football, enjoys football, knows the rules, has some basic understanding of like some drills, some basic things. Okay. But he's not accomplished in any means. He's just a guy that likes the sport, essentially, right? And he's coaching all these kids. Okay. Well, at the same time, when these drills go on, when these games happen, you have a lot of parents. You have a lot of eyes watching and observing and making sure their kids are safe. And you also have a lot of feedback that you're getting, right? You get a lot of feedback from, your kids come back and they tell you how it was and they tell you how they're doing, and you can see how they're doing. Like you can really see it. Like you can observe every step of the way what's happening.
I understand that the coach is doing well. That can be evident from the performance, weekly performance or monthly performance.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that the coach might do good. But here's the thing. We are willing to give the coach a chance to do that.
Yeah.
But we are not willing to give the similar fair chance to someone who is themselves in a bad relationship.
I mean, I think people do. I think people do. Like you there's all kinds of relationship coaches out there and like
Mm-hmm.
matchmakers that
Mm-hmm.
that can't even get into a relationship themselves. Yet people trust
Yeah.
them to give them advice. So people do that all the time. I just think that that's unwise. I think it's unwise. And I think it's different. I think it's very, very different. Um, like, I think it's more unwise to choose somebody to help you get into a good relationship if they don't know what a good relationship actually looks like and they can't even do it themselves. They're not accomplished in that area. I think it's like that's just like there's more danger to doing that than taking up a sport and being coached by a coach who's not accomplished.
Okay, let's take another analogy
Yeah, I
and
think I think
talk.
it's also hold on, let me add to that. Let's say here's a little bit of like an equivalency to that. Let's say you're getting coached by a coach that doesn't even understand the rules of the game.
Hmm.
Okay? Doesn't know the rules properly. And
Yeah.
you're breaking all kinds of rules. Well, you're gonna find out relatively quickly when you go to play a game and all of a sudden the referee's blowing the whistle and it's like, no, these are all kinds of rules that are being broken. Right? And how detrimental really is that? That's not so bad. It's not a big deal. Whatever, right? Coach sucks. Whatever. But somebody that doesn't know the rules of how to engage in a healthy way with another human being in an intimate way, there's a lot more danger to that because you could really actually be hurting somebody, like causing trauma to somebody, like real trauma. So it's I think it's very dangerous. It's very, very different.
So it's basically short-term and long-term impact, is it?
Mm-hmm. I
Sports has a short-term impact and relationships have a long-term impact.
I think so because if you have a crappy coach, you just put in a really good coach, and or you try just a different coach. Um, you know, let's say they're kind of crappy too. It kind of sucks, but it doesn't really hurt you so much. It's kind of like it's a reflection on them. Like it's a clear reflection on them, and it's like they suck and yeah, I mean, I don't see it as much of like a detriment. It kind of sucks, like yeah, you lost a game, or but I don't see that as like. I mean, it could be traumatic for somebody, sure. If it really means a lot, like winning a game means a tremendous amount to somebody, sure, it could be traumatic. But I think it's different. Like building relationships with people is a lot more foundational for us as human beings of what it means to be a
Mm,
human being.
yes, because we can still have a life without sports, but we cannot have a life without relationships.
For sure. Because there's so many other things that can take the place of sports. So many other things. But there's nothing else that can take the place of having an intimate relationship with somebody. Like, I mean, you
So it's like a
could.
hierarchy.
I think so. Well, it's a hierarchy
Yeah,
of
in the
needs, right?
hierarchy,
Right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Love.
mm,
Love really just means like relationship. Relationships with people,
okay.
right?
So if we go into that Maslow's hierarchy, what is the topmost?
I think it's self actualization, knowing yourself.
Is it?
I
Is it
think
at
so.
the top?
I think it changed. I heard something about it changing, where there's like another layer on top of that one.
Okay, I'm looking it up.
Okay, let's see if I remember this. You can look this
Maslow's.
up. I think the foundation is like basic necessities like food,
Yeah,
shelter,
survival.
survival needs. Yeah. And then if I remember correctly, after that, it's, I think it's
Right. So
relationships. Like,
So it's showing 5 layers.
Hmm.
First one is survival. Okay. What was the second that you remember?
So I think then, um, yeah, it's like survival needs. Then I think it's stuff that brings you like more safety and comfort for yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. The second is safety.
Yeah. And then I think once you have safety, I think it's more like acceptance amongst peers. So like having relationships, and in that, I don't know if in that is included to be love or what, but I would imagine it would be relationships with people, a community, belonging, things like that. I think would be the next one.
Uh, yeah, that's right. But love is included in that as well.
Okay, love is included in
So
that one. Yeah, I wasn't sure. And then the fourth one would be, I think, self actualization, because I think now there's a fifth one and it's something above and beyond that. I think it's a new addition to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
okay. So actually, the fourth one is related to pride, self-esteem, and on confidence, etc.
Okay.
And the fifth one is what you mentioned,
Self actualization. Yeah.
self-actualization.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if love comes at the third level,
Hmm.
where does the sport and career come? I don't see sport and passion anywhere in this hierarchy.
I think that might fall under, um, there could be a whole slew of things that can fall under like the, um, you called it pride, but I think it's probably some other words for it.
Esteem,
Esteem. Yeah, I think
respect, status.
I think that falls under that. So like hobbies, things that you do with yourself, your work, your the things that bring you meaning in your life, right? Whatever those things are, whether it's playing a sport or it's playing chess or playing a musical instrument or the work that you do, the living the money that you make. I think there's a whole variety of different things that can be substitutes that can fill in that category.
So if we take that
Mhm.
and put it in the category of pride,
Hmm.
we are actually putting the career higher than love.
Because it has to come afterwards. Not that it's higher. I don't think the thing is, I think the way that the hierarchy of needs works is the order in which um, you look to bring things into your life in order to be completely fulfilled as a human being. So I don't think it's like level of importance. I think if you look at
All right.
actually,
So
I think
okay.
actually, I'm gonna take that statement back. I think there is a level of importance, and you can clearly see it. It's not the level of importance isn't up here at the top; it's down at the bottom, and that's why it takes up the most space, and that's why it's
Hmm.
the foundation. So actually, the bottom is the most important, and as you go up, it's less important for you to have fulfillment in your life. But if you want to have total and complete fulfillment, then you need to achieve all items.
Yeah. So first you need to have basic food, water, shelter, food, clothing, and shelter, right?
Yeah, that's the most
Survival
important.
needs.
Yeah, most important.
Second, you need to have safety.
Mhm.
That's that includes health.
Yeah,
Of course, health is very important,
yeah,
and love should come after health.
yeah.
And again, I can put the same question in the respect of health.
Mm.
We are willing to talk to doctors who are themselves very unhealthy.
Well,
who
that's
are
true.
obese.
That's true. That's true.
So how
It's
do we
silly.
explain that?
Yeah, I think that's very silly. Very, very silly. I'm
Like
skeptical if
even
I'm
even my family doctor, she is an elderly woman. She has always been obese,
yeah.
but we still trust our health in her hands.
Yeah, I think that's silly.
No, but how does that explain our ability to trust someone for one thing they are not good at, but
Well,
someone.
I think it's a little bit different because the barrier to entry is a lot higher.
Right. So they have studied for 5 years. They are given a tough exam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a doctor has to go to school for a very long time, has to really study very
Ex-
hard, so many hours, has to work their butt off to get there. So the
So
chances
there has to
are,
be,
yeah.
okay, so there has to be an accredited course for relationship
Ah, okay.
mentors.
Okay. However, who is given the accreditation? And
In future, I believe it will become important. So that is what we are discussing. That is what is going on in my mind. Like
yeah.
if there is a room for that,
Maybe the
everything that comes up, AI has become a new trend. So there is now AI engineering course.
you're going along the lines that I was thinking. You're like
Mm,
almost 100% there. I was actually going to say, I think that's maybe where AI comes in. You
mm,
can't trust human beings for certain things. The nice thing about AI is it can gather massive quantities of data in a way that a human being just cannot. And it can analyze the data at a level that a human being cannot.
mm.
So an AI can look at a million relationships, a billion
Right.
relationships, and figure out which ones are the most successful based upon certain
What are the
parameters.
parameters?
Yeah, parameters that I think a lot of people can easily agree upon. Longevity, the health of the
Mm,
couple, the happiness of the couple, like based upon like how much stuff do they do together, and like I think we can get a general consensus on what the parameters are, and then AI could figure out what are the intricate items that make relationships really healthy. Then you can get an AI to design an entire course.
Now, if AI can answer that, then probably we don't need a course. We can simply now go to GPT and ask.
Yeah.
I'm asking GPT right now,
Hmm.
what are top
Oh well.
five?
Let's see what it says.
What are top five? How do I put it? Top five elements
Yeah.
of a successful
Yeah. Or
relationship.
characteristics or whatever.
Let's see what it comes up with.
Let's see.
So I'm gonna
I'm gonna
add
I'm gonna
the
see if I
word.
can guess. Let's see if I can guess what the
Yeah,
elements are.
I'm gonna add monogamous into that
Yeah. Monogamous. Yeah.
monogamous relationship
Yeah. That's a good
because
parameter.
we have discussed it's an important one.
Yeah. I'll see if I can guess these five.
All right, are you ready?
Yep. I'm ready.
All right, so the GPT has given me five elements.
Okay.
Let's hear yours first.
Okay. So I'm gonna guess probably number one is communication.
All
Okay.
right, go on.
I'm not going to necessarily try guess in order, but let's just say what the five elements are. So one is communication. Two, another one will be connection. Three will be intimacy. Um, a fourth one. I'm not doing this in any particular order, but a fourth will be compromise.
Mm,
And a fifth one will be um, to have common interests and values.
Okay, so you've got 4 out of 5, right?
Booyah.
Yeah, but you probably would have gotten more right if you would have asked top 10.
Maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, that shows that you're probably a good mate or a good potential partner for
Maybe.
Melissa.
Maybe for Melissa, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If maybe
Okay.
one day I'll be able to meet Melissa. Yeah. Or Eve. Call her Eve.
E.
Eve,
Yeah.
Adam and Eve.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing is trust, and you said
Trust.
connection,
Yeah, of
which is
course.
similar.
Trust.
So I
Yeah.
I assume they are relatable. Trust and connection. The other
Mm,
one is communication, which is bang on the
yeah.
most important parameter, of course.
Yeah.
The third one, I think you said compromise, and here it is respect. So I think it kind of aligns.
Yeah. I suppose so.
You probably are not,
Yeah, you can't
you
really
probably
compromise with
like,
somebody who you respect. Can't if you don't
yeah,
respect somebody, you're not going to compromise with them.
yeah. And then, of course, it requires self respect as well. So
Yep.
when you compromise, you have to limit yourself to a certain extent. So
Yep.
I think that respect part covers that. Fourth one is intimacy, of course. Most people would have said intimacy first, I think. But
Mm,
yeah, ChatGPT says it is fourth out
mm,
of top 5.
mm.
And last is commitment.
Yeah, sure, of course. Yeah, commitment's very important.
I think commitment is a given when you are talking about monogamous. I've already asked monogamous to ChatGPT, so I
Not
think commitment
not
is implied.
necessarily. Not necessarily. I don't think so. I don't think it's
You
necessarily
don't think
implied.
so?
No, because people have a monogamous relationship but not actually be committed to that monogamous relationship,
Gotcha.
right?
So that mindset
Is like I'm
of
going to do this
people.
for some time because it's good for me for now. And they just have that mindset. That's not a commitment at all. A commitment is
All
like
right.
I'm
So
doing this long
yeah,
term and no matter what, I'm going to get through it with this person through thick and thin, right?
yeah. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
So monogamous is something like okay, you are in a marriage now, that's done and you have to stay with it. But commitment is I'm willing to give it what it takes.
Yeah, monogamous is just like I'm going to only be with this person. I'm not going to look at anybody else.
Mm.
That's just a rule. It's a rule. That's what I'm going to do for now, but I might do it for now, which is not a commitment.
Yeah, right.
I'll do it for the time being, and
Let's
then
see how it
maybe
goes.
tomorrow I won't do it anymore.
But commitment is I will wake up every day and take this person to be the only soul.
Yeah. 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 I agree. But the thing is like, okay, so these are the values or the characteristics of a successful relationship, but how do you maintain those things? How do you practice those things? How do you implement those things? How do you create strategies that are hard, that are concrete, that can't get broken, that can't get manipulated, that both people can follow? How do you do that? How do you come up with like a
Yeah,
framework?
I feel that is where that is why you put communication first.
Mm-hmm.
Because until and unless we are able to explain the importance of these elements to our partner, a potential partner,
Yeah.
it has to begin with us, maybe, because we have to be able to first explain the importance of these, and only then they are maybe willing to come up with the strategies
Yeah.
along with you.
Yep. Sure. Sure. But
And
then how do you know
and
that
that
those are
is where,
how do you know those are healthy and good strategies, right?
of course, it will be a trial and error because there is no written book on that, there is no course.
Well, yeah, and I
So
guess that
that
kind of goes back to what we're saying. Maybe there should be a course because some people
but
just
then again but then again the course will not be of help if you come to think of it, because every person is different, and when you take two people together, the difference even multiplies further.
yeah
So one
yeah.
course cannot completely cover all the couples
Well, maybe the
or
course
majority even.
yeah, but maybe the course doesn't tell you like the nitty gritty details about how to have a successful relationship. Maybe it just tells you like how to design it, how to go about designing it together and coming up with the strategies together, how to do that in a way that will bring you to a successful place, how to go through a little bit of a trial and error period in a way that won't end up somewhere where it's going to be toxic, right? How to do it in a way
No,
where it's not
still,
going to where it's going to limit the chances of causing trauma to each other.
yeah, so like de-escalation strategies.
Yeah, there's all kinds of bits and pieces, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
still feel that it would require a lot of uh, tweaking.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Every so I think that is why the course may not exist or survive, because ultimately it will come down to tweaking, and the two people that are in the relationship, they are evolving, they are changing every day.
Yeah.
So so it will require tweaking every day, and
Yeah.
then again it comes back to communication and feedback.
Yeah.
It would be something like, yesterday we went to this restaurant and you behaved like this and it did not work. So that has to be communicated, and until and unless that is not communicated in a healthy way, it's not likely to come up with a solution.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. That makes sense. I think also like having some set of curriculum that you can begin with to like just start you off on the right track is good, but then having some sort of a coach that can observe along the way to help make sure that you're both doing your part to maintain things and grow together successfully, I think is
For
important.
accountability.
Yeah, for accountability and to make sure things are moving, like you're not like no one's getting off track and
But
yeah.
here's the thing, if the couple begins to rely on a third person,
Hmm.
then it's kind of a supported relationship. I would say it's not really working on its own.
Maybe it's more of a situation where it's like as the relationship develops in its beginning stages, you meet with somebody, I don't know, once every 2 weeks. And then as you find that you know, you're getting to really good habits, you're getting to a good routine, you're understanding each other better. After some time, you go to like once a month, and then once a quarter, and then like once a year. It was like sort of a gradual weaning off.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm just coming up with random ideas. I don't know if they make any sense.
No, it's probably what therapists do. They reduce the sessions per week so that there is healthy detachment.
Yeah. Not a reliance. Yeah.
Mm.
And you just do like check ins. It's just a quick touch point. Your meetings
And they
get
will,
shorter too.
yeah, and they will leave you with worksheets to
Yep. Things to
stay
accomplish.
accountable.
Yep.
Right. So
Maybe.
relationship coaches would still be required, but the course may not be as necessary.
Yeah, just at first, maybe, just to get people off on the right track.
Trust, communication, respect, intimacy, and commitment.
Yeah. It's interesting too, is because you call it like when you get married, you get a license. You get a marriage license. But typically, when you get a license, you have to have taken a course. What other license can you get just by
Just by
wanting
promising.
it? Yeah, just by saying that I'm going to do a good job. And then you just get your license? It doesn't work like that for anything else.
Yeah, I promise I'm not gonna drive in the wrong lane.
Yeah.
Give me a license.
Yeah. Trust me.
Trust me, I'll never
Yeah.
drive drunk.
For sure. It'll never happen. Sure. No problem. Here's your license.
Yeah, I can see how honest you are. I trust you.
Yeah. I trust
You have
you.
communicated well. I
Yeah.
respect you.
Exactly.
I can see your commitment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild stuff. I don't know, man.
Then maybe it shouldn't be called license. It should be called uh, what? A relationship agreement or
No, it should be called a license, but then you actually have to like do things like you do for everything else. You have to do things in order to get that license. Not just say some things that sound nice.
hmm. So you have to prove that you're gonna be good at marriage
Yeah.
before getting that marriage license.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Think how many people would like really, you'd have to really put in work at it. Like you'd have to work on yourself. You'd have to work on understanding what a marriage is all about first before you get into it.
That actually would make a good addition to the marriage, uh, you know, process. If imagine just like a judge who is giving out the marriage license
Yeah.
is sitting and just before handing out the license, he is obliged to ask some questions that are going to make them think.
Yeah. Whether or not they're actually willing to hand it out. Or you have to take an exam.
It doesn't have to be an exam, but just asking those questions right before signing off the marriage,
Yeah.
it could give the guy and the girl a moment to think about, okay, this is going to be my next 40 or 50 years of life.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think even better, you have to demonstrate it.
Show them a
Demonstrate.
video.
Yeah. No, like in front of a judge, show your ability to communicate well together. The judge gives you a
Yeah, small,
circumstance,
yeah,
you know,
small test.
yeah, small
Not
test.
written,
Yeah.
not written, but a situational test.
Yeah. Situational test. An exam where it's like, okay, here's the situation. Imagine you did this and you did this. This is what's going on. Okay, let's see how you're going to work this out together. And the judge
Yeah,
watches
why?
them do it. And if they do it very well, then great, you're totally ready for marriage. Or no, you're not quite ready yet. You have more work to do. And once you've done the work, you can come back again and we'll try again. And we'll see if we can do this better next
Exactly.
time.
That is something that should be implemented. It doesn't have to be legal. There should be consultants for that, just asking questions each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, in fact, I think I've heard of a consultant. There is a YouTuber. He's doing this kind of thing exactly.
Hmm.
He hands out the PDF to the both the parties and make them ask each other these 30 questions. I think it's a list of 30 questions. Now it makes much more sense to have those 30 questions or even 10.
Yeah.
It's yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think we
that's
solved.
good.
I think we solved some big problems today.
Yeah, I believe so. It's only a matter of implementation now.
Yeah. I'll leave it up to you to do that.
Let's hope that I'll take some action in that.
Yeah. Let me know how it goes.
What about you?
I'm not doing anything.
What are you taking?
I already did my part. I came up with the idea.
Still, what are you going to take away from this conversation today?
Uh, that if I ever decide that I want to build an intimate relationship with somebody, I will make sure that there is respect, trust, communication, commitment.
But you already knew all those things.
Yeah. So I'm good then. I don't need to do anything.
So the right woman has to find you.
I guess so. And if not, it's all good. It's all good. You know what?
Hmm.
I when I was younger, I thought that I would want that. That I'd want to have like a, an intimate partner. But now that I'm older,
Wiser.
yeah, I'm finding that there's other things that are more important to me. And if it happens, cool. If it doesn't, it's fine.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it should be actually. But somehow this wisdom is not being passed on to the younger people.
Well, I think they have, first of all, you're dealing with people that don't have a fully developed brain. Right? I think it takes to like the age of 27 until your brain is fully developed. I've heard on average. So you got basically a bunch of brains out there that are not fully developed, that are nowhere close to being fully developed, that are like half a decade of until they are fully developed or more, running around making decisions that can affect them long term for the rest of their life.
And
So,
if that's true, let's say scientifically we find out the approx age, 25, 26, whatever that is. If we find out the approx age where the emotional part of the brain completely gets developed,
mm,
shouldn't we make that the legal age of getting married
should there be a legal age
instead
of
of
getting married? Well, here's the problem with that.
mm,
Here's the issue. What happens if by accident you end up having a child early? You're not going to get married until you're of age. It's not good for the child.
but that's still the case in teen pregnancy.
It happens, yes, but I'm just saying if you were to put an age restriction on it, then that means that everybody, no matter what, wouldn't be able to get married even if they had a child.
Yeah, but that problem still exists.
That
Even if we
does,
keep it at 21, currently it is 21, right?
yeah, but there are it's crazy circumstances where it happens earlier than that. So I don't think there should be necessarily like
So you're saying there shouldn't be
yeah.
any age restriction.
I think that age restrictions should be decided on by the family, not by a
Agreed.
government. Yeah, there shouldn't be
But
it shouldn't be
still,
imposed by a government or an authority besides the family.
but if there has to be an age of getting married,
If
wouldn't it
there,
make more
well,
sense to push it to 25, 26?
yeah, if you had to, if for some reason we lived in a world where there had to be that decision, then yeah, I would say that even later, like 30.
Yeah, but there is. The government thinks that there should be an age restriction, and they have put in almost every government has that 21 age limit.
I don't know if does the Canadian government have a restriction on the age you need to be to get married?
I think so.
Something to
There
look
must
up.
be.
Okay, let's look this up. What are the age restrictions placed on marriage from the 10 wealthiest countries? I didn't know there was age restrictions anywhere. I didn't really think about it. Okay, so United States marriage laws vary by state. In the United States, generally most states allow individuals to marry at the age of 18 without parental consent. However, some states allow minors to marry with parental or judicial consent. Okay. China, the legal minimum age for marriage in China is 22 for men and 20 for women. However, provincial regulations may have different minimum age requirements, and underage marriage is prohibited by law. Okay, yeah, of course, underage marriage, yeah. Japan, it's 18 for both women and women. Germany, 18. India, 18 for women and 21 for men. United Kingdom, 18. I'm so ignorant, clearly, about this stuff. However, in the United Kingdom, individuals aged 16 or 17 may marry with parental consent. France, 18. Minors aged 16 or 17 may marry with parental consent. Italy, 18. Same thing. Minors aged 16 or 17 with parental consent. Brazil, same thing. Canada, same thing. I suppose that's why I didn't really think about it too much, because in Canada you can be 18 or even 16 or 17 with parental consent. Suppose that's why I didn't really think about it.
It's not that it doesn't still happen here. Of course, in villages, people get married at under 18. It
Sure.
happens all the time.
Right.
But when you said that 27 is the age where the brain is still developing, I thought, why not then push that restriction further?
Yeah. I think it should be 30.
Yeah, sure. I agree.
Yeah. It should be well past
Because
the point that your brain is fully developed and you've had time to really consider your life decisions, like big decisions like that. Yeah. But that'll obviously, that would never happen. That would never have, not in a million years would that ever happen.
No, I was clear in my mind earlier that I I would take my time to settle down, and I'm 34 now, and I still don't feel quite there yet.
Okay. You're 34. I didn't know you were 34. Do you know how old I am?
A few years older than me.
I am 10 years older than you.
That's few years.
It's more than a few years. It's a decade.
Yeah, but you're still in a good shape, so we would assume you're 35.
I appreciate it. I try to take good care of myself. Although I've been having trouble. Like, I used to be able to do 50 push-ups in a row, no problem. Then I went down to like 40 push-ups, and now I'm like down to 30. And I don't understand why that is. I don't understand why I'm not able to do as many push-ups in a row as I used to be able to. Like, just like a few months ago. I don't get it. I don't know if maybe my technique is different, or maybe there's a certain muscle group that haven't been exercising enough that is required in order to be able to do that amount of push-ups. I don't know
Or
what
maybe
it is.
it's getting boring. Is it something like that?
No, I don't find it boring. I mean, most of it's weird because most of the things I do in my life, I do them because I know that they're good for me to do, not because I actually want to do them.
Mm.
It's really strange. Like, I would say the large majority of things that I do in my life, I do them because I know it's good for me.
Yeah,
Like, if I could have it my
like
way,
we
I
have
would
to.
do nothing. Seriously, if there's no repercussions, I could do whatever I want. I would literally do nothing. Nothing. I would sleep in very, very late. I would eat tons of junk food. I would sit and play video games. That's about it.
I think all of us, I think all of us would do that if given the opportunity or the freedom to do that.
I don't know if all of us would. I think there are a lot of people out there that.
Yeah, unless they have found something that they are very passionate about. Like, let's talk about sportsmen again. If they have found a sport that they are very passionate about, then it's hard to ask them to stay in bed all day.
There's some people that are very. I used to be like that. I used to be very driven. Very, very, very driven. Very focused on just one thing and nothing else got in the way. And I was like obsessed.
Mm.
But then I turned 30 years old.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
What were you obsessed
The
about?
drive, yeah, definitely goes on reducing, and then you have to find other things to give you that drive. Like I've mentioned this year, I have taken up music.
Right. 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 Sure. But like, what did you have that drive with when you were younger?
All right, so most of the 20s, I have been driven by, I think, going out mainly,
Okay.
hanging out, going out, being social. That was most of my 20s. Then I would say in my late 20s, my drive would have shifted towards a bit of spirituality and philosophy,
Okay.
even education. Education is still somewhat a passion, which is, to be honest, my part of my passion is to educate the teenagers and give them the life skills, the values that will help them lifelong.
Hmm.
I'm
That's nice.
currently, if you remember, I'm teaching teenagers. I'm teaching them physics,
Yeah.
but in between physics, I get these opportunities to enlighten their mind with different concepts and theories,
Nice.
and that feels very fulfilling.
That's great. That's great.
So
Well,
that
what you're
is
doing is
part of my passion.
you're passing on your knowledge and your way of thinking to other people, and you're planting seeds.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm hoping that they, get some delicious fruits out of them. Even if I know in future I may not get any fruit out of that, but still, it in the moment it feels very fulfilling.
Yeah. Um, well, I think that's part of being a human being. It's handing
Mm.
something down to a younger generation, and then they'll make something of it that you might not ever see, and then they'll pass that down to the next generation in some form. The form will change quite a bit, but because you did something that has an everlasting effect through many generations, and the same was from before you. So all kinds of
Mm.
generations that came before you, that this person did something for this person, and this person this person something, and then that person taught this, and then this person eventually taught you something based all upon those things that were taught along the way. And then you're just doing the same as well, right? So I think that that's just part of being a human being.
So it's a natural process.
Very natural. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yeah. So that drive is still there, but I can feel that reducing because I'm not taking as many lectures, and I can see that teenagers now are not that receptive as they used to be.
Right. Maybe that's in your, maybe you just thought they were really receptive when you were younger. And they
Yeah,
weren't
maybe
really.
my drive, yeah, exactly. Maybe my drive was much higher that I was, able to ignore the ignorance.
Yeah. Or maybe because your drive was higher, you were teaching in a slightly different way with slightly different energy, with slightly different language, with a slightly different vibe. And then the maybe it just came across differently and then was received differently. Or maybe it's exactly what you said. Maybe they're just not as receptive, right? It could be so many things.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's my general feeling because every place that I've been recently, I have observed this pattern that teenagers are not that receptive right now.
Mm.
It's basically the same thing. They are not able to commit where they are.
Mm.
When they are in the classroom, they are not really in the classroom. Their mind is in their phones.
Mm.
They are badly addicted to phones now, and almost every teenager has some app going in their mind. Even if it's not running on the screen, it is in their mind. So it's very hard nowadays to keep their attention
Mm.
for a longer period, and that shows.
I've heard that a teenager's attention span is less than a goldfish's. I think actually that may
Maybe
be
goldfish
people.
is,
I think that's people in general because I think a goldfish's attention is like 8 seconds or something like that.
yeah, maybe 5 seconds.
And then I think a human being's attention span has gone down dramatically. On average, I think it's like 3.
Yeah, if you take the children and the teenagers, of course, it might be around 5 seconds.
Yeah,
I won't go as low as 3 seconds, maybe.
we're gonna look this up too. Let's look this
Yeah,
up.
let's look it up.
What is the attention span of a goldfish? What is the average? Average attention span of a goldfish. Okay, let's see what it says. Oh, well, the average attention span of a goldfish is often cited as being very short, typically lasting only a few seconds to a few minutes. However, it's important to note that the concept of attention span in animals, including goldfish, is not precisely defined as well or well understood in the same way as it is for humans. Okay. And there's more. Just reading on. Okay, so it doesn't give like an exact, it doesn't really give a proper number. But let's see what it says for humans. Of a human. Okay, the average attention span of a human varies depending on factors such as age, individual differences, and the nature of task being performed. However, research suggests that the average attention span of adults ranges from 10 to 20 minutes for sustained, focused attention on a single task. Okay, it's important to note that attention is a multifaceted cognitive process that involves selective focus, sustained concentration, and the ability to filter out distractions. Okay, what is it for? What is the average attention span of a teenage human?
Again, it would say it depends upon the culture and country and etc.
Yeah, it's basically giving the same answer. It's not really being. It's not being straightforward. Come on, ChatGPT. It's being very diplomatic and political.
Yeah, sometimes I get annoyed because of that, and I just tell GPT, give me just one number.
Yeah. I
Give the
wonder.
answer in just one significant number.
I wonder if this is something I can just Google. What is the average? Let's see what Google says. What is the average attention span? I can copy and paste actually because I used that before. So of a goldfish. Here we go. The average attention span for the notoriously ill-focused goldfish is 9 seconds.
Nice.
Yeah. But according to a new study from Microsoft Corporation, people now generally lose concentration after 8 seconds, highlighting the effects of an increasingly digitalized life cycle on the brain. Then there's a chart here. Let's look at this chart. The average attention span of a human in 2000 was 12 seconds. The average attention span of a human now, 8 seconds. And the average attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds. That's that chart. And then there's another chart here that basically says the average human attention span was 12 seconds in 2000, 9 seconds for a goldfish. 2015, it was 8.25 seconds, and now 2022, 8 seconds. And I don't know what studies this is based on, but that's what's. I mean, it's Reddit, which is not the most reputable source of getting information, but I have heard that before from like a number of people. But who knows? They could all be citing the same Reddit post.
So I have a better chance of teaching physics to goldfish.
I suppose so. The only problem is they can't write, and they can't do anything with the knowledge.
The goldfish could at least remember it, maybe. And in future, maybe we have some technology that reads minds of goldfish. So
yeah. Maybe. I've heard this. I've heard of AI like decoding some languages of animals, like dolphins and whales.
Yeah, so imagine in future we can just talk to goldfish and they are gonna send a message to others.
Yeah. Maybe.
Goldfish messenger.
Goldfish messenger. All right. That's it for me. I'm out of here. It's 12:26. As always, let's figure out what we're gonna name today's crazy podcast.
Yeah, I think we talked about evolution, we talked about relationships, and what else? Evolution, relationship. I think that's mainly what we were discussing.
We're talking also about like the about survival. Surviving the end of the world.
Yeah, survival, evolution, and relationships.
I kind of like surviving the end of the world.
Surviving. What's the end of the world? Judgment Day?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
What is it called?
Yeah, I think it's called Judgment Day or the Apocalypse.
Apocalypse. Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, surviving apocalypse.
Yep.
Apocalypse. I think I spelled that right. Okay. I got to plug in my keyboard. Battery's running out. There we go. Surviving apocalypse. Something about marriages. I like the idea that we had about
monogamy.
Yeah, but something a little bit more fun. Gotta come up with like a
anigamy.
What'd you say?
Anigamy.
Anigamy?
As in choose your gammy, and mono or poly.
Oh, anigamy. It's cute. It's cute. What was the other things that you said we talked about? Talked about survival.
Evolution.
Yeah. There was one thing that we said, and I was like, man, that would be a good title. And I was going to write it down, and then I completely forgot. I got to do that. If there's something that comes out, and maybe do that too. Like if as we're talking,
Mm,
something comes up, and you're like, oh, that would be totally a good title. Should write it down.
no, how do we recollect that?
Oh man, it's not going to happen. And I'm not going to go back and watch and figure it out.
Maybe our viewers are gonna comment.
Yeah, all of our many viewers.
Our committed viewers
Yeah.
who sit for 2 hours and watch this.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to talk about that too. The fact that we get no viewers. Like, I mean, it's to be expected. I think I mentioned that I expect to get 0 viewers until we've done about 20 of these. And then we'll start to maybe get like 1 or 2 here and there. That's going to be my guess. But I wonder if there's a way to take like the transcript of these and feed it into ChatGPT. And then ask ChatGPT to determine what from our conversations are working really well and what we should adjust. What would make a better podcast?
I think I had already done that. The first video, I think I had used the transcript of that to generate hashtags.
Oh, okay.
But I think that didn't work because the I think the role of hashtags is to increase the visibility, but that didn't happen, right?
I don't know. I mean, how many views did we get on the first video?
We got, I think, 4, 5. What was that?
I'm not sure. But I think you only really know if something works is if you do it over a longer period of time. I think if you do it once, it's not enough. Like, that's not much of an experiment, right? Where you do something once and then that's it. You gotta do it like many times and make like very slight alterations after you've done like something like many times, and you do slight alteration, do it many times, slight alteration, and then you can kind of compare,
Hmm.
right? I think that's a better experiment. So maybe we should try
Right.
that again.
I'll look into that.
You the man.
Mm.
All right. I think that's good. I think we're good. I'm gonna go, and I'll see you next week.
Yeah, let's wrap this up and see you again on Saturday this time.
Yeah, the normal time.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right. So
Always a
have a
pleasure.
good Sunday. Take care. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
same here.
Okay. See ya. Have a good week.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.